There has been quite a surge in retro gaming devices that are offering ways to modernize your Sega consoles. One of these new interesting devices we've seen online is the Wingman SD converter for the Sega Dreamcast and Saturn, which I found out about online because it promises the ability to use modern USB fight sticks on both consoles. The device's manufacturer, Brook Gaming, reached out to the site and asked us to do a device review. So we agreed to give the device a deep dive and have been quite surprised at how much variety the device offers for just under $50, including the ability to use modern Xbox One, 360, PS3, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch Pro gamepads wirelessly. The first thing I did when I received my device was try to update the firmware. During our review, the latest software update was version 1.1T. Updating the device was pretty simple, as all you had to do was download the application and follow the on-screen instructions. I then got to testing the device on the Sega Dreamcast. The Dreamcast controller, in my opinion, is a huge step down in terms of quality compared to the Sega Saturn controller. Don't get me wrong, it's serviceable, but the analog stick and triggers feel low quality compared to new, more modern controllers. For most of my test period, I used the Xbox One controller, mostly because the Dreamcast and the Xbox One share the same button layout. The first thing I noticed about the device is how easy it is to connect to Bluetooth and how fast it connects upon booting. It takes a few seconds. As for how the buttons are mapped, it's basically how you expect, with the four front-facing buttons being mapped exactly like the Dreamcast. Since the Dreamcast only has two triggers, the right bumper and right trigger are mapped at the same button. So is the left bumper and left trigger. As for the second joystick, it actually just remaps the four front-facing buttons. So if you flick the right stick to the left, you hit X, and if you hit it to the right, you hit B. I assume this was done so people that play games like Quake 3 Arena could try to get some sort of two joystick setup going. Usually in Quake 3 Arena, the left stick would move the camera while the front four facing buttons do the movement. This would allow you to have the ability of using the second stick instead of the four front facing buttons. Personally, I like the default settings, so I just ignore the second stick. The Wingman SD converter also has instant response time with close to zero lag. If there is some lag, I didn't notice it while playing. One complaint I've read online from users is that the device has dead zones. But again, personally, I never noticed it, and if it did, it definitely didn't affect my gameplay. As for extra features, the device actually comes with a 200 block memory card. And if you didn't know, that's the standard size of a VMU memory card. The device also supports Rumble. These extras are very awesome and a big surprise, especially the memory card since they always fill up so quickly. I'll admit that even though I wanted the device mostly to use modern arcade sticks on the Dreamcast and Saturn, I really spend most of my time in the review using the Xbox One controller on the Dreamcast. And to me, if that was the only functionality of this device, I'd be happy. But it also allows you to use modern USB fight sticks. I tested it using the Quamba Obsidian for this review. The first fighting game I booted up was Street Fighter Alpha 3. And I noticed that it used the same button layout from the controller but on the stick, which just doesn't work. This is when I went to the Brooks Gaming site and found that the device has two Dreamcast controller modes. One is a standard controller and the other is the arcade stick mode. To switch to arcade stick mode, all you have to do is press select plus A or X depending on your controller layout. This will make the light on the Wingman SD turn to red. That means the arcade stick mode is on. This will automatically remap the buttons perfectly for Street Fighter Alpha 3. If you want to switch back to the standard mode, all you have to do is press select plus triangle or Y again, depending on which controller layout you're using. Next, I tested the controller on the Sega Saturn, which in my opinion has one of the best controllers for 2D games. Kinda hard for me not to want to use it whenever I turn on my Sega Saturn, but I took a bunch of games in variety of genres for a spin using the Wingman SD converter and the Xbox One controller. Auto-mapping the buttons for the Sega Saturn controller is pretty hard considering how different the controller is compared to the modern PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers. The Sega Saturn's first four front-facing buttons are mapped as you expect, and the last two, X and C, are switched from left to right bumper. It seems fine on paper, but a lot of Sega Saturn games actually use the C button as an action button, which can be annoying since the Xbox One's bumper buttons are not the best buttons in the world. If anything, my right bumper is actually going out. On the device's website, it also says there's a way to change the button layout manually, but never tried it myself since changing it within the game accomplishes what I want. The standard controller layout is called Standard Mode. Unlike the Dreamcast that has 2 modes, one being an arcade stick and a standard layout, the Sega Saturn has 3. Just like the Dreamcast, the Sega Saturn fixes fighting stick layouts by having its own arcade stick mode. But instead of using the command menu plus X or A, it's menu plus circle or B, depending on your controller. I hope that in a future update that the company could make the Dreamcast and Sega Saturn's arcade mode the same command, but it's not that hard to remember. The third and Sega Saturn exclusive mode is called the 3D controller mode, which tries to simulate the Sega Saturn 3D controller pad that some games took full advantage of. Taking the Xbox One controller for a spin using Knights was a joyful experience and highly recommended. Haven't played the game in a long time and I managed to get B on my first run using the Xbox One controller. I would say that's not too shabby. As far as device build quality, it's not bad at all. I mean, in the end of the day, the device is using hard plastic, but I accidentally dropped it a few times from the top of my desk while cleaning and it didn't break. The device obviously has a connector for both the Sega Saturn and Dreamcast. Both seem solid. I've been having issues with my Dreamcast with Dreamcast controllers disconnecting randomly, but this device hasn't had any of these issues. So I would say that the connection for the controller ports are very solid. The device is also very small and easy to take with you wherever you go. A lot easier to take this device than taking the controller. And as you can see right here with size comparison, it's almost the size of an Amiibo, which obviously is very small. I have also seen people online say that it works with modern steering wheel setups. Sadly, I don't own a steering wheel, so I can't test it out myself, but this device is definitely making me want to invest in one so I could play Sega Rally like God intended. I'll admit, I was pretty skeptical about the device at first, but it really does accomplish everything it claims to, and it's an incredible value for under $50. Not only does the device let you use your choice of Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox Switch Pro, or Xbox One controllers on both the Sega Saturn and Dreamcast, it also supports USB fight sticks, rumble, and it has a 200 block memory card.
Oh, that's a lot of damage!
You really can't beat that versatility and value. There really isn't another device like this on the market and it's hard not to recommend. Plus, the device will be getting future updates as well, so don't be surprised if a PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X controller update is around the corner. Just imagine the space and money you can save by not having multiple fight sticks and steering wheels for your Sega Saturn and Dreamcast. I already caved in and bought a second unit, so when I have friends over, they can use their choice of controllers when we play fighting games. No more, it's the controller excuses in this house. But that's our review for the Wingman SD converter for the Sega Dreamcast and Sega Saturn. What crazy devices would you guys want to see me plug into this device to see if they work in the future? Also, let us know if you guys want to see more retro device reviews by commenting below. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys on the next video. Bye.